How's it going, folks? I hope you're all having a beautiful, beautiful day. It's unfortunate that we have to kick things off with this video on bad news, but I'll be starting with the hard facts of what we know, and then after that maybe we can delve into side talk with any hopium or conjecture or speculation and whatnot. You may recall last year there were whispers that NetEase Games were starting to cut off funds from some of its studios. Now, NetEase has a lot of studios under it, so this could have been bad news for pretty much all of them. This led people to speculate that Nagoshi Studio was in danger of not having enough funds to finish his upcoming game, Gang of Dragon. Fast forward to the Game Awards last year, and to many people's surprise, Nagoshi actually managed to show off his game at this grand event. Many people thought it looked like it would pass off for a Yakuza game. So, the fact that he managed to show it off at a big event was good news. It gave a lot of people hope after a long period of silence in regards to the game he was working on, and now, finally, people had something. Naturally, many would assume that development was progressing at a somewhat steady rate, and it was probably going to come out sooner or later. However, just earlier today, news outlets started talking once again about NetEase Games cutting off funds off of studios under it. However, whereas last year it seemed to be reports and uncertain rumors, this time it seems to be more concrete in validity. Not only that, this time around it seems like we have proof that Nagoshi Studio is handpicked with the budget cuts. According to the article published about this by IGN, Nagoshi Studio needs approximately an additional $44 million to finish the rest of his game. And upon finding out about this, NetEase decided to stop funding the project. Something that's been talked about since last year is that NetEase is reportedly cutting down its investments into the video game industry. So with the news surfacing again, this has now led Nagoshi to try and find new investors, and unfortunately, the articles state that he's not having much luck with that. Nagoshi Studio was informed by NetEase that they can continue to work on the game with the budget that they have left, but that they're not getting any more money. Feels like deja vu. So that's all the facts out of the way. We basically heard the same thing last year, and it seems like what we're hearing today is just further confirmation that Gang of Dragon may have some trials ahead of it. The optimist in me wants to say that Nagoshi can still make this work somehow. If you guys have never delved into his history with the creation of Yakuza, Nagoshi is a pretty driven man. He had all the odds stacked against him when it came to kickstarting the first Yakuza game, and he still pulled through somehow, convincing investors and executives to give his idea a shot. There's a video that delves into this story made by Yakuza fan titled Forging the Dragon, and I highly recommend you give it a watch if you want to know more about how Yakuza came to be. But anyway, given what I know about Nagoshi, there is a chance, maybe a small one, that he can still make things work even with a limited budget. We all know that a franchise like Yakuza tried to be efficient in many ways development-wise, through tools like reusing assets, and it didn't shy away from any of that. The creation of the Yakuza games in general is characterized by making the games in a rush. In other words, under pressure. And here's a snippet from an interview with Nagoshi saying as much. Now, I might be hopeful, but I'm also not going to discount the possibility that this game could get cancelled. NetEase unfortunately does not have a good track record with keeping around some of its good resources. In an article by Video Games Chronicle, they report that NetEase laid off US-based developers behind Marvel Rivals, which is a hugely successful game that enjoyed a big launch. But the interesting thing is that those layoffs also included the director of the game. Another example of a weird decision by them, and this example is taken from an article from WCCF Tech, is the closure of Oka Studios that was also under NetEase. And that studio was responsible for a game called Visions of Mana, which also launched to positive reviews. This is, of course, far from the first time we hear about corporations shutting down studios that made really good games. I'm sure you guys heard examples like the studio behind Hi-Fi Rush being shut down, though this particular example is not related to NetEase. I don't know why they do that. Sometimes it just feels like they hate money. But yeah, this video is pretty short. I don't want to drag it on more than I have to. Just wanted to bring you guys some news that dropped today. So at the end of the video, I just want to say thank you all for watching, and until the next one, bye-bye now.